Once upon a time, high above the green hills, lived a little cloud named Luma. She wasn't a loud cloud. She didn't rumble with thunder or race across the sky. Luma floated gently, slowly, softly, like a feather dancing on the breeze. Each morning, she drifted over the forest tops and villages below. She loved watching the farmers wake up, the children playing with sticks, and the birds making their nests. She would whisper little hellos, and sometimes she imagined they could hear her. She had never gone far. The hills were her home. But that was about to change. One afternoon, while Luma was exploring near the mountains, the wind began to stir. At first it was gentle, like a game. But soon, the wind grew wild. It howled between the rocks and pushed hard against the sky. Before she could puff herself small and hide, a great gust swept Luma up, twisting her, turning her, carrying her far, far away from her hills. When the wind finally calmed, Luma opened her eyes. The sky was quiet again, but everything was different. No more patchwork hills, no cozy villages below. Just tall, unfamiliar forests, lakes she didn't know, and skies she'd never floated through. "I don't know where I am," she whispered. And for the first time in her cloud life, Luma felt truly alone. She floated and floated, until she found a lake that sparkled like a giant mirror. The trees around it were tall and gentle, and the wind was no longer loud. Luma drifted low above the water and decided to rest. The surface of the lake reflected her face, and she blinked at her own reflection. "I look so small," she said quietly. Just then, a boy named Theo stepped out of a wooden cabin by the water. He looked up, shielding his eyes from the sunlight. He saw the little cloud hovering quietly in the sky. "That cloud looks like it's thinking," he said to himself. He waved. "Hi there." Luma blinked again. No one had waved at her before. Every day, Theo and Luma met again. He would sit by the lake, and Luma would float just above him. Theo told her about the animals in the woods, about the fox that stole his socks, and the turtle that followed him for 2 whole days. Luma listened. And in return, she made shapes in the sky. A fish with wings, a cake with candles, a boat with a flag. Theo laughed and clapped every time. "Do you like it here?" Theo asked one day. Luma swirled into a heart and floated close. But when the sun began to set, she would always glance at the horizon, searching. Theo noticed. "Do you miss your home?" Luma formed a small hill in the sky, then let it fade into mist. One evening, the stars blinked bright and early. The wind returned, but this time, it was soft and careful. "I remember you," the wind whispered. "You floated too far." "Yes," said Luma, "and I found a friend." The wind swirled around her gently. "Would you like to go home now?" Luma looked down at the little cabin, the trees, the lake, and Theo, who stood waving with both hands, even though his eyes were shiny with tears. She puffed into a star and let it twinkle above him. "I'll come back," she whispered. Then, the wind lifted her high, higher, until the lake disappeared behind the clouds. Senya, Demai. The wind carried her back to her green hills. Back to the little villages, the rivers that curved like ribbons, and the quiet sky she once knew. "I'm home," she sighed. But things weren't exactly the same. Now, when she floated above the hills, she thought of the lake. When she saw reflections in the water, she remembered her own face. When she heard stories in the wind, she heard Theo's voice. And sometimes, on clear nights, she would drift all the way back to the lake, just to watch the boy in the grass look up, smile, and wave. Because Luma wasn't just a cloud anymore. She was a friend. And she had 2 homes now. One in the sky, and one in a boy's heart.